Welcome to You, Me, Empathy, a safe place for leading with your heart. Hey, thanks for being here. You, Me, Empathy is the official podcast of the Feely Human Collective, a collaborative mental health community designed to empower each of us to grow our capacity for empathy, vulnerability, and emotional wayfinding. Just a friendly reminder that this podcast is for educational and entertainment purposes only and is not a substitute for medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. No one is just a silly boy with a feely heart. You can support the show by leaving a review in Apple Podcasts, following us on social media at Yumi Empathy and Feely Human, and joining the Feely Human Collective community at feelyhuman.co. And now your host, Known Wells.
Hello, Feely Humans. Welcome to another episode. Yes, another. It just keeps coming. Another episode of Yumi Empathy. My name is Known Wells. I am a sensitive little bean. And I'm the creator of the show. Started almost 5 years ago. I'm also the founder of the Feely Human Collective, where we together, not apart, together, hand in hand, arm in arm, heart to heart, Care Bears, staring hearts into each other's faces, or hearts. We grow our capacity for empathy and vulnerability and emotional curiosity. It's beautiful. It's lovely. It's my heart. It's everything. If you want to join the community, go to feelyhuman.co. This is episode 231 on More Than You See with Deborah Lee Smith. Deborah is an actor. She's a writer. She is a Feely Human. She has her own podcast called More Than You See and a mental health website called More Than You See with a ton of wonderful resources. Deborah has been open about her own journey in mental health, and in this conversation we talk about listening to our bodies. We talk about Deborah's experience with a prolonged panic attack. We talk about why there's no shame or failure in divorce, and how there's always more than you see. If only we look, we listen, soften, and be curious. Isn't that true? I really love this chat, really love this conversation, really cherish Deborah, and am grateful that she was on the show. Before we get to the episode, though, first, if you're listening to this today, July 25th, it's my birthday. Yay! I'm 41 years old, which is, just a number. It's all just numbers, right? And if you want to celebrate with me, one way to celebrate is to join my email list for Feely Human. If you listen to the bonus episode that I released a couple weeks ago, or a week and a half ago at this point, about the future of the Feely Human community. In October, I will be moving away, sort of transitioning away from Instagram. Not fully, but I will be creating a private community where we can engage deeper and, I just want to serve you better. I want to see your heart and ask how you're feeling without robots getting in the way. I just want to connect deeper and more on a more feely level. And so if you would like to hear more about that as that comes into fruition, or if you just want to be a part of the monthly-ish, it's quarterly-ish at this point, newsletter that I send out. It's kind of the only place I write nowadays. So if you want to go to feelyhuman.co and just click on the little banner at the top there that says Stay Connected and subscribe. I don't send spam. I am not trying to sell you on, I don't know, muscle creams. I don't know what that is. Muscle stuff or supplements or anything like that. It's really just me having a conversation with you and keeping in touch with what's going on in the Feelyverse. So if you could do that for me for my birthday, go to feelyhuman.co, subscribe to the newsletter. That'd be great. And if you haven't, if you're still listening to this and have not left a review in Apple Podcasts, I don't know what to say anymore. I mean, I'm just, the broken record has been broken. It has been taken to the dump. It has been recycled or just, disintegrated back into the earth at this point. So if you haven't left a review, please do that. It does help out the show. Running a podcast by yourself is hard and can be lonely. And so sometimes seeing those reviews where you tell me that like, oh, I love this show because such and such, or this episode I related to such and such. This is why I do this show. The reason I started it is to create a space that I create a space for people to be seen in their wholeness, to show up and listen and learn and reflect, and to allow my guests to share their stories and be vulnerable, to allow you, the listener, to connect and relate. That's empathy. So if you have been moved or if you have related to this show at all, a review would be lovely. So, so subscribe to the newsletter, leave reviews. I guess that's all I want to say at this point. Give Deborah Lee Smith a follow. She's on Instagram. I'll make sure to include the links to the show notes at feelyhuman.co, which is also where you can write. You can collab on workshops. I got a shop as well with some stuff that's starting to dwindle, but there's some stuff still there. Pins and stickers and whatnot, and mugs. So check that out. Oh, the last thing I'll say is if you're listening to this and you pre-ordered the Dear Childhood Me Journal, and you want to share it on social media, I will be happy to reshare and stuff. So tag Feely Human at Feely Human. I'd love to see your journals in the wild. That'd be awesome. Okay, let's get to the episode. This is, like I said, episode 231 on More Than You See with Deborah Lee Smith. Welcome to You, Me, Empathy, the official podcast of the Feely Human Collective. On this show, we explore the struggles, the triumphs, the brights and the darks we face as humans trying to get by on this wondrous and overwhelming pale blue dot. The intent of You, Me, Empathy is to talk openly without judgment about our mental health, our neuroses, our shared anxieties and worries, to create a dialogue that is vulnerable and deeply human and empathetic, and to share that dialogue with others to inspire emotional and cognitive collaboration and insight so we can, hand in hand, break down the stigma that make us feel shame and guilt for struggling, for feeling our feelings, for being feely humans. You, Me, Empathy is a brave place designed to inspire the beauty in each of us because each of us, in all of our kaleidoscopic parts, makes up a magical whole that deserves to be seen. Today, I am more than you see. In fact, I am a silly boy who once got kicked out of a water park for life as a teenager. True story. Because I'm here with actor, producer, dog mom. That's the most important bit. Mental health advocate and More Than You See founder. It's Deborah Lee Smith. Hello, Deborah.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me. That was the best intro that I've ever had. And I feel like I need to write it on my bathroom mirror and see it every morning.
Do it. Yeah. Do it.
I'm going to.
Good. Well, I'm grateful you're here, Deborah. Let's get into it. Let's get into the thick of it. How are you feeling? We always kick off the show with an emotional check-in. So how are you feeling?
I'm actually feeling pretty great right now. I just had surgery a couple weeks ago, and like that was a physical, difficult experience for my body, but
Mm.
the emotional side of it was that it forced me to do nothing for a week, which is really difficult for me.
Mm-hmm.
I had to say no to a bunch of things. I had to cancel a bunch of things. Of course, I had like overscheduled myself and thinking that I was going to be able to handle everything after, 3 days after surgery. That was incorrect.
Yeah.
And so that slowdown actually really forced me to look at what was important in my life. And so, I'm 3 weeks after that, and I feel like I'm still on a bit of a high from really prioritizing the things in my life that matter to me and
Mm.
like giving myself huge amounts of grace for having just had surgery and therefore not being able to do everything that I thought I was going to be doing. So physically, it was difficult. Emotionally, I think it was like one of the best things that has happened to me in the last couple of years. So that is how I'm doing right now.
Wow. I love that. There's a certain surrender to that, right? Like
Definitely.
we all experience pain or struggle or interruptions or disruptions to our daily lives, right? Our routines that we hold on to so dearly
Mm-hmm.
and love because they give us value and they give us a certain contentedness. And then life happens, right? Stuff gets in the way and we have to, not we have to, but there is wisdom in the serenity of letting go a little bit in those moments and allowing yourself to see like, hey, I'm reflecting here. I can't move too much. It would be it
Mm-hmm.
would be harmful to me. Let's go inward.
Yep.
I love that. I wonder what were some of those things that you rooted yourself in? Like you said, it sort of brought you back to like focusing on the stuff that matters to you. What were some of those things?
Yeah, I mean, it's everything you said is so true, and it's not just a surrender. It was like a forced surrender,
Mm, yeah.
because I can tell myself all day long, Deborah, you need to slow down. You need to focus. You need to stop taking on too much. You need to prioritize your mental health. You need to whatever. And I won't. And it wasn't until like you said, literally moving would be harmful that I was like, well, crap. Okay, now I am forced to do nothing. And that was just so helpful for me. Some of the things that I have focused on is I have a script that I wrote last summer that is about, I lived and worked in the construction industry in Australia for 3 years. And I've written a script about it, and I shared it with my partner, and he read it and he was like, this is incredible. How have you not put more work into this? And because it's just a first draft and it's very like chicken scratchy and whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so then that was like one of the things where like I reread it and I was like, this is good. I should work on this. Okay. So I'm like diving back into that.
That's
I'm just like,
exciting.
yeah, I'm really excited. It's I did fly in, fly out in construction in Australia, and that is means that you leave your home, you fly into site
Mm,
for 3 weeks, 4 weeks, whatever the roster that you're on, and you live and work on site with these people. So you
wow.
see the same 500 people for 3 weeks, and then you fly home and you're home for a week. And then you repeat that cycle. And I did that for 3 years, and it was one of the most emotionally taxing things in my life. But also, there's such camaraderie, and it's just such an interesting culture that hasn't been explored at all in
Mm,
film. And so that's what it's about. It's about a woman, myself, who goes and experiences the sexism, but also just the general trials of being separated from your family and being forced to find your own purpose and your own family in the outback.
mm.
So I'm excited about it. I think it's going to be a fun ride for everyone. So
Like a reverse Crocodile Dundee.
yeah, kind of. And it's like, and you know, it's interesting because of course I was one of, you know, maybe 5-10 women on site out of 500, 600 men. The role that I was in, I had to do like tell a lot of older 60-year-old white men what to do, and they did not appreciate that. I was, you know, 23 at the time. So I looked like 15. So it was a really important part of my life. And it really impacted me still today, and how much I learned about myself, how much I learned about interacting with people. And so I'm really trying to bring all of that into the movie.
I love that.
I'm excited.
What brought you out there? Like, what inspired you to go out to the Outback and do that type of work?
Yeah, so I got my master's degree in film production in Australia, and then met my ex-husband on within the first week of me moving to Australia, and I was 22, and we, you know, I finished my degree, and then that was 2009, and nothing was happening in the world really, or in the film industry. I mean, like, for anyone who doesn't know the film industry, like 2008, as well as the housing market crash and the, you know, stock market crash, that was also the hugest writers' strike in all of like WGA history. Yeah. So 2008, literally nothing was written. So like nothing happened in the years, or like it was very difficult in the years following for things to kind of like pick back up to normal steam. And so it really was like a kind of a wasteland as far as opportunity at that point. So when he was in construction, he's a surveyor, and he had an opportunity to start a company and move to the Outback in order to service this job. And at the time I was like, sure, that sounds like something to do. So why not? I'll do it. And so I, you know, started this company with him, and after about 3 years, it was, you know, like I said, one of the most emotionally taxing, but also physically taxing things that I experienced. And also probably actually the start of my own mental health awareness, because in the last like 6 months that I was working on site, I started to have really strange, what's it called? Like when you have neuropathy in your fingers and your hands. And then I started having like, I would feel like my hands were on fire or my limbs were on fire. I would have like brain fog. Like I'd be explaining something to one of our workers, and it's something that I should absolutely know, and I couldn't form sentences. There was a lot of weird things, and I went to so many doctors. They had no idea what was going on. And I realized years later, when I was reading a book by, I believe it was like Tim Ferriss, the 40-hour work week guy. And he was talking about the importance of like finding your purpose and what happens when you don't find your purpose and your passion in what you're doing in your everyday life. And he was literally describing the symptoms that I had. And he was talking about how he finally got diagnosed as having a prolonged panic attack. And so I truly believe that is what was also going on with my body at the time, where it was just like months of just low grade panic about the life that I was living. Yeah. And because of the symptoms that I was having, I wasn't allowed to stay on site because they have very strict medical, you know, regulations that you have to, you know, fall into, health stuff. And so I ended up moving back to Brisbane, left my partner. I mean, we were still together, but I moved back to Brisbane, stayed with some friends, and got back into an acting class. And within a week, my symptoms disappeared. And so I think it really was my body being like, you are completely not doing what you are supposed to be doing. I need you to wise up. and get back to the thing that, lights you up. So yeah, it was a pretty incredible, important experience for me. And I'm really grateful that I had it and that I can now work on the script about it.
Yeah, it's wild. I thank you for sharing. What is so, I think, universally important about the moment where you're like being witness to and sort of feeling the physical effects of maybe some panic or anxiety or mental health is I know that I've had moments, Deborah, where I've just sort of ignored a lot, right? Ignored a lot of that physical manifestations of trauma or of panic or anxiety, and you push it down, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's so damaging. And I all the more reason for us as humans to check in on that stuff, to be curious, and also have the space to do so, right? Like you were able to go to some friend's house or houses, right? A friend's house. So that's another crucial piece of that story, right? Is like you saw what was happening. You felt this isn't right. I need to change this for myself. First, honoring choice. Second, honoring choice. And part privilege, right, is to say like, oh, I'm going to go here because I need to remove myself from this situation.
100%.
Yeah. I mean, it's a crucial part of it. And I think just for folks listening, just a reminder that like we need people in our lives who will be there for us in that way, house us, whatever we may need. And we need to check in on ourselves always.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think also, like, to take it a step further, it's not just the check-in, it's also the seeking the answer that you like innately potentially know, and really just continuing to find those answers, because I didn't find, like, I saw so many doctors and they were so unhelpful, and most of them blamed it on like, well, you're a woman, so like no joke, they were like, you're a woman, and so these are like, was it at this time of the month, like that's why you're having and
so not surprising.
Yeah, no, not at all. But it was important, and it was so clarifying. And this is something, that I've kind of focused on with my mental health platform is finding an unconventional answer for something, and then like continuing to dive into that knowledge. So like the idea that like I read in a random like entrepreneur book about a prolonged panic attack. Like I didn't even realize that was a thing. I didn't know you could have a panic attack for 6 months. Like that's insane. I mean, it's definitely, it's a form of anxiety. It's just the way that your body is reacting to the situation, and just telling yourself that you need to change your environment and what's going on. And that certainly does come with a lot of privilege, but I am so like grateful now that I have that knowledge and I know what happened. And so then I can, share my experience, but also if I have something in the future that happens that's weird with my body, I can go like, I just don't think that's right. And listen to that. Like, I think that that's also that intuition that we have when it comes to our body. And it's something that I think that you have to grow, and you have to like, not ignore when your body gives you signs, because your body is just it's such an important part of us. But I often feel sometimes like my body's another being, like my mind is one being and my body's another being. And I'm just learning how to connect those two every day.
Yeah.
And
just
that. Really listen to myself.
Yeah. So what, speaking, like taking it a step further from there, like how did that listening and intuition lead to, from what I heard maybe correctly, is like leaving your husband, leaving your partner?
Well, so that actually, we actually did stay together for a while after that. Like we weren't married at that point. We actually did get married a couple years later.
Okay.
And he ended up coming with me to the US when I moved back to the US and got back into acting. And then we split up maybe 4 years ago, right when I started my mental health platform.
Okay.
Or about 6 months after is when I started More Than You See. And so that, was an experience in itself. I do have to say though, that even the ending of that relationship did require a lot of intuition on my part as well. And I have to say that like I was also, 22 when we met. And I think that the amount that we change between 22 and 30 is so huge, and that we often like think that we change so much in college and all of that kind of thing. But I think that like when we're out of college and then forced to make our way in the world and like figure out how we're going to spend our life, especially because there might be so many changes during that time, I think that it's so key, for us to just acknowledge that we're going to be doing a lot of shifting and changing and growing during that time, and that's okay. And it's definitely important to have a partner that, if you choose to have one, that supports you in all of those changes, and you're able to support them in all of those changes.
I've been thinking about this a lot lately, actually, because I changed a lot between 20 and 30. I've changed even more between 30 and 40. I'll be 41 in July. And we have to allow for people to change, because change is necessary.
Yep.
Because change is growth, change is perspective, change is like, the shedding of bias and assumptions. It's growing, it's learning, it's expanding, and it's beautiful. And it's hard too. Like I know for myself, I was a very different person when I met my partner, Jessica. We've been together for 15 years. Very different person. And we're going to, I think, record an episode about how much we've changed. And it's going to be very embarrassing for me. But like, I also have to give myself the grace, right, that you were talking about before, and understanding that like, hey, look at how far I've come. That's a beautiful thing. And I want to continue in another 15 years, look back at where I'm at now at 40 and be like, wow, look at how far you've come. Like, that's great.
Totally.
And we need the people that can see it and hold it for us and be safe for us. Right.
Right.
What are some of the ways that you grew, obviously checking in, and having some more awareness around your health, but like maybe some other ways that you grew and expanded yourself from 22 when you met your first husband or your first partner to when you split
now.
Or to now. Yeah.
I mean, to when I split, I think that, he's a wonderful person. I do think that, he's Australian, and I do think that there is a difference in Australian mentality when it comes to gender roles. That is different a little bit. And I think that innately or not, I think it was difficult for me to shift my focus so much from this business that we built together to now following my own path and saying, no, I don't want to do this anymore. And I need to build this other career for myself. And of course, I want you to come with me and support me and whatever. But I think that was difficult for him to see that shift, that huge shift, because I'm a freaking great partner and great supporter. And like, we built this multi-million-dollar company, and it was really difficult for him to go, oh, okay, now you're giving this up. And I think that, we both tried to make it work. I think also just the difference in, Australia versus America, and the distance and all of that kind of stuff. Like we just realized that we wanted different things out of partners. And I think that it's so interesting, the cliches that you hear as far as like, you know, the red flags you see in the beginning of the relationship, they'll be there at the end, like all of those things.
Mm-hmm.
I never truly believed in them until my marriage ended. And the things that we ended over were the same things that I was worried about in the first year. Exactly the same. And we were together for 10 years. And interestingly enough, my partner now, who is also divorced and was with his previous partner for 17 years, I think both of us, at least I can speak for myself, I have zero red flags, and anything that is even slightly orange or anything that I'm like, hey, I'm concerned about this, whatever, I talk to him about it immediately and we resolve it. And it's just the amount of like transparency that we have is incredible. But I also have to say, I have learned how to be so transparent and vulnerable with my partner 100% because of the therapy that I went through and still have after having gone through a really horrific divorce. So
yeah,
I'm so grateful for that experience because it has led to me becoming the, you know, well-rounded, caring, like empathetic partner that I am now.
yeah. I'm grateful to hear that, because there's this, and maybe you felt it, maybe you didn't. And I'm hoping you didn't, but if you did, you're human too. There's this underlying societal thing that's like, looks at marriage, and when it ends, it's like capital F failure, you know, and especially there's this like baggage for women in particular that's like,
Yep.
You know, you did the thing, it's your fault, which seems so hateful and misogynistic. Did you feel any of that? Did you get any of that from people in your life?
Definitely. 100%. And of course, you know, not only I so prescribe to the idea that we go to therapy for the people that aren't going to therapy. Like I 100% feel that. And I certainly had some family members that were like, that they felt like failures because of my marriage ending.
Yeah.
And so then they were putting their failure on me, which was unhelpful. And so, yeah, I absolutely did. And I think that, you know, I released an episode of my podcast in November of this past year, 2021, November 8th. And the reason that I released it was because that was my wedding anniversary. And I released it that day to talk about my divorce and to talk about the, you know, ending this idea of people saying like, I'm sorry when you get divorced, because I think that potentially there's a point in my life when I needed to hear that, and I needed to hear that sympathy. But I also think that it was a bit misguided. And now I'm so grateful that I went through that experience. And I think that we really need to like leave space for people who were in horrible relationships and they then had the courage and the power in order to or the opportunity or whatever that allowed them to end a relationship that wasn't serving them anymore. I just think that that's so incredibly important. And I really, you know, I do hope now that I'm going through the actual like divorce proceedings, which is just the worst freaking thing in the world, which is just so awful that it's so that it's so difficult. And also there's a lot of bias in the process. And I really so like, for example, so both me and my partner now, who's getting divorced from his ex-partner, both of us were the petitioners for the divorce, even though both of us were the ones who actually got broken up with. We're just the nicer or like more, whatever. We're nicer. We're the ones who are actually doing the work that are like, okay, fine. Yeah, we'll file the paper. Like we'll
We're
get
the
it done. Blah, blah,
peacemakers,
blah.
a little
Yeah,
bit of
we're
a
the
peacemaker.
peacemakers. That's
Okay.
100%. Yes, we're definitely
Yeah.
the givers and the peacemakers of the relationship. So we're the ones who are doing all the divorce papers. We've realized now that was a huge issue for us because since we're the petitioners, we are automatically seen as the bad guys.
Oh,
So
interesting.
we have to release our financial records more than than the respondent does. If we said something in an agreement saying like, we want to split things up this way, and the respondent responds and says, no, we're not doing it this way or whatever, the respondent kind of gets more like they get more grace, or like more attention is paid to their response than to our initial agreement, because they're just thinking that we're the ones who started it, and it shouldn't matter who is the one who filed the paperwork. Like it's been really frustrating,
so weird.
Actually. It is.
It's got to be rooted in some patriarchy, or something. Yeah. Wow. I'm sorry. That's shitty.
It is.
I hope
shitty.
It ends soon.
I'm the light room at the end of it, so it'll be good. But I have to say, it's definitely like one of those things where I really hope that in my lifetime I see the dissolution of some of the patriarchy that's built into marriage in every capacity, because there's so much of it, and it's really it just makes the most difficult decision of ending a relationship after 10 years, it makes it so much harder you should be surrounded with like support and love for making this difficult decision. And that's unfortunately not at all what happens.
Yeah. I think about my parents' marriage from time to time, to my detriment. They were married for like 30 plus years, and they should have got divorced pretty early on. They did get divorced, and then they married each other again, and then they divorced again. He cheated for 30 years, and it was just like very abusive. It was a nightmare to be witness to. But anyways, the thing that I love about what you're saying is the part that the ending being this transformational thing, right? Like, yes, it's loss and it's hard, and the proceedings are steeped in misogyny and patriarchy, and it's transformational, right? Like I just spoke with Mike Bender, who is the co-founder of Awkward Family Photos, on the show. And he wrote this picture book called The End is Just the Beginning. And it's all about that. Like he got the idea for the book, like watching his kids like mourn endings. Like even an example of which is like mourning the end of dessert, like mourning the end of this television program, mourning the end of the day. Right.
Right.
And him sort of seeing that and writing a little picture book about how endings can be this transformational thing. And I would say the same is for your case, right? You had this end, and now you have this new beautiful opportunity where you and your current partner can be in empathy with each other as you're both going through the same thing, and be there for each other. And you've learned so much because of this previous relationship, the stuff.
Yep. Yeah. No, totally. It's interesting because my partner has 2 kids, actually, a 5-year-old and a 9-year-old, and watching them, I've always wanted kids. So it's really wonderful for me to have this be the start of our version of family, whatever that's going to look like. And that's certainly, like, just watching them have difficulty with change, but also those ending things. And I think that unfortunately, like, my parents got divorced when I was 5, and it was an awful, like, divorce. Like they, so much of my childhood is, my memories are all the arguments, the, difficult situations that I was put in, I mean, to the point where it was really violent, and police had to be involved at some point. Like it was really difficult for years.
Yeah.
I mean, until I went to college, pretty much. So like 13 years was them arguing over us, basically, me and my sister. And I, certainly know that with my divorce, and then watching my partner with his divorce, like, so much better as far as like focusing on that transformation is a good thing. And I think that unfortunately sometimes we are, dealt experiences where we don't choose the transformation and we don't choose the ending, and we have to figure out how it is going to be a positive thing for us in the end. And I certainly have a real issue with toxic positivity and just being like, everything is going to be fine and everything is happy. And I'm certainly not at all saying that that's should be the mentality.
Yeah.
But I do, think that even just focusing on one small way that your current situation is going to be beneficial to you in the future is like all we can do sometimes, is just focus on one small thing.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
And then maybe in a week or two you'll find another small thing and whatever, and you just hold on to that. And I think that's my version of toxic positivity, or positivity in general, is just focusing on the tiny little things that can help us get through the day sometimes.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry you had that experience growing up. That sounds hard.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah. And what you're describing doesn't sound like toxic positivity to me. Toxic positivity is bypassing wholeness, right? It's you're holding on to some like joy in this experience, or a positive attribute of it, but you're not denying yourself the hard stuff too as part of it, right? Yeah. Right. So let's talk about More Than You See a bit. This is your podcast, your company. When I mean, obviously I made a joke of it at the top and referenced the true fact that I did get kicked out of a water park as a teenager for life. They had my picture up in the office, which is a nightmare of a kid.
Yeah, seriously.
So what does More Than You See mean to you? And has it changed since you started it 4 years ago?
I mean, fantastic questions. I would say it hasn't changed actually that much. It started as a platform and as an online resource, and it has now expanded into a podcast as well. But I think that the core belief is still there, and the core belief is just this idea that we are all multi-layered humans, and that we have masks that we hide behind, and that I think that it's important. And I personally think that these masks are sometimes very important because, like, as an actor, I don't need everyone to see, every single emotion that I'm experiencing. Like if I was at a press junket and I was feeling really stressed or overwhelmed, or, my partner's kids broke my toe that morning, or like whatever happens, I still in that moment would still have to be professional and like hold myself together and deliver, whatever I needed to do in that moment. Like, I think that we all have those things, and I think that it's important for those things to be there. But I also think that oftentimes we hide behind those masks and we don't ever take them off with the people that we should, our friends and our family and the people that we really trust. And so the reason, when it started, it was at the start of my marriage ending, or the end of my marriage ending. And at that same time, I had a really good friend in Australia die suddenly from a heart condition. And it was something where he was giving a presentation at work. He's an engineer. And he literally like had a heart attack. He was 32, had a heart attack in the middle of a presentation, and he died before he got to the hospital. He had nothing was wrong. Like most perfect human and health, just, it was such a tragedy. And I was dealing with that loss as well as the loss of my relationship. And I was that broke me. Like both of those things on top of each other were just
so much
awful. Yeah, so much. And I couldn't, I definitely had weeks there where I couldn't get out of bed. I was in such a dark, depressive state. And the only thing that I was able to do was walk my dog. And it was so wonderful to like have something that I could put my focus and attention on that was external, and to still be able to care for this creature that was relying on me. That was the only thing that I could manage.
Yeah.
And I started listening to podcasts and just was hiking and listening to podcasts. And I listened to an interview with Zachary Levi, and he was talking about how he was was really struggling with suicidal thoughts between like after shooting. I don't remember if it was the first Shazam or I don't know. It was basically like, it was a couple years ago, but it was right after he had shot a big project. And he was saying just like how he was the most depressed that he'd ever been in his life. And how he went to this like inpatient center that focused not just on therapy, but also on meditation and exercise and reading about different aspects of our brains and, all of this stuff, just like really taking a holistic approach to mental health. And that was so impactful to me. Number one, to listen to this actor who I've admired for so long. And he's really been, like his work has been something that I've really loved, for years. And this was really before actors were really talking about their mental health. So to hear an actor talk about how he was having, suicidal ideations, and then to hear how this holistic approach is what really helped him, I was like, well, this is amazing that he has this. But I feel like everyone needs this. Everyone needs to have these like non-traditional mental health resources that are outside of the things that we are often prescribed in order to help us in situations. And so that's how the idea of More Than You See started, was to focus not just on meditation and nutrition and going to see a therapist and whatever, but also on the fact that like an entrepreneur book could help you, or a TED talk about the importance of sourdough in your life, like whatever it is. Like there's so many different things that I think that we all encounter in our day that will help us elevate our understanding of ourselves and the world and like our own brains and other people's brains and whatever. And so I have just like a wide range of different mental health resources on the site. And my, real goal for it is so that people can kind of like have their own mental health toolkit, that they're like, I like to listen to this one podcast episode and watch this one video and listen to this one song. And that's the thing that is going to help me when I'm, in darkness. And so, this is something that like I have huge goals for how I want this to continue to grow, both in when I started the podcast, the focus on that was really both tiny little tidbits so that people, again, someone could just listen to 20 minutes of me talking about the importance of changing your environment. And then that would remind them that they need to go outside or change their workspace or whatever. But also I really focus on interviewing actors, directors, anyone who has these external, internal personas that they really have to struggle with. because I do think that it's so important for the people that we look up to be transparent about their own struggles, because it makes us all feel less alone when we are having our own struggles. So, I mean, I would say the way in which it has changed is that I have so many huge ideas of how I want to continue to grow it. And I wish that I was a million people, and that I could focus so much attention on it. Because of course, you know, I've got to pay my bills and do all the other things that we have to do. Hashtag adulting.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Yeah, for sharing all of that. I love this idea of masks, right? And I think you're right in the sense of, you're right in all of it, but the piece that I sort of latched onto is this idea that masks can be crucial and part of our survival, right? And part of our getting through something that we really need to get through. And at the same time, they could be limiting, they could be bypassing, they could be damaging, right? I think the key ingredient for me in my experience is those masks or armor or whatever you want to talk, however you want to describe it. We need to bring awareness to them and understand why we are using them, why we have them in the first place. And understand too that like the mask we wore yesterday may not even be relevant to us today. Right.
Yeah, totally.
Like, I think you're right that like there are moments where, like in my utopian vision of the world, where I do have lots of people who are helping me build a Feely Human empire, and I don't, and it's just me, and I get overwhelmed every day. But in my utopian dreamer world, you know, we're all sort of, you know, I'm bumping into strangers and we're talking about like our feelings. We're talking about like, oh man, I just my job today really took it out of me, you know, fuck capitalism. Am I right? You know, and they were just like, we go deep dive and we hug and we cry. And like, that's the world I want to live in, you know? But also that's unsafe for a lot of people. Right. You know, I'm talking from a place of privilege. You know, I'm talking as a white cis man who's operating and sees the world up here, you know, and not everyone's going to feel safe to do that. So like, how are we honoring those masks? How are we bringing awareness to them when they're not allowing us to grow? Right. It's messy.
It is. I mean, I would say I love your idea of a utopian world, and sign me up. But I do have to say that I think that the issue is that not everyone knows how to deconstruct their own feelings and not try to look to external people in order to solve our problems or solve what's going on in our life or whatever. And I think that is something that I really try to encourage my community, is to absolutely be vulnerable and open about your feelings and what's going on, but also to like have self-awareness and have agency over your own feelings, not just in showing up for yourself and advocating for yourself when it comes to your mental health and being like, I think this is wrong, I need more help in this way, or, you know, to focus on your intuition and to really like be your own advocate, but also to know our own boundaries and to know and respect other people's boundaries in knowing what is important to bring up to someone else and what isn't. Like, for an example, I'm speaking very abstractly, but like, for example, I feel like in this new relationship that I'm in, or with my new partner, there's certainly like sometimes these, you know, I'll have a conversation with him about something that's like been irking me. And we'll have a conversation about it to the point where it is now like basically solved, but it still it's still, I'm still struggling with it internally. Like it's still something that's bothering me. Even if he gave me the exact answer that I want, or we were able to like get through it, it's still something that's bothering me.
Yep.
And I really feel, and this is something that I'm working on with my therapist as well as just by myself, to be like, okay, this is my problem now. Like this is something that like I need to continue to examine. And like, am I now focusing on this because this is something from my childhood? Is this something because I'm actually worried that like this emotion is actually not this emotion? It's actually this fear about this other thing. Like, I really do think that, that like, not only do we need to be more open, you know, in the world to other people, but also to like do the really hard shit about our own selves and know when we're wrong and know when we're dwelling on something and know that we need to like continually examine our emotions on every level. Yep. and try to like find the whys for those. Like, why are we feeling like this? And I think that it makes us such, then it allows me to show up more empathetically and in a more supportive way for my partner. Because then I'll also like know that like if they say something in the future that maybe like bumps that I know that they're not doing it to try and harm me. Like this is my thing that I'm still struggling with. This doesn't, you know, and I think that again, that self-awareness and that self understanding about like, okay, this is my thing I need to like focus on. And that's okay that we have all of those things. Like,
yeah,
again, this is just what makes us human and multi-layered and all of that.
Yeah, I love that. I think you're absolutely right. It's why I always say we have to go inward before we go outward. And that
Totally.
cycle is perpetual, right? Like
yes.
we the inward always precedes the outward, you know? And it's, you know, to you, in your example, it's a perfect one. In those moments in my marriage, a thing that has been useful for me is to remind myself, just telling myself, oh, we're on the same team. We're on the same team here, right? Like,
right.
She's never out to like get me. She's never out to like hurt me, really. You know, she's never out to like whatever, right? She'll say something that I may interpret as like an attack, right? But like, it's not an attack. We're on the same team. Let's investigate that, right?
Right.
Yeah. I love that.
Absolutely.
So I just started this new spin-off podcast series called Movies That Make Us Feel.
Oh, amazing.
And it's only on Patreon, and it's been a lot of fun. And the first episode was on Turning Red, which is a movie I love. And I'm wondering, what are some of the movies that make you feel?
It's funny because I think for me, I mean, I love like so many films and I love to feel and whatever, but I would say that as soon as you said that, the things that jumped out to me are the movies that had an impact on my life at a very particular point in my life. The first the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man.
Sam Raimi. Yeah.
Yeah. Like that movie was so important to me. Like that was the first movie where I was like, oh man, I want to do this as far as like being an actor. And I still can remember the like excitement and the nervousness and just like full body chills that I got when I saw like the Marvel flip. Like this was like, you know, the start of the Marvel empire that it is now. But I still remember like how excited I was to like be immersed in that film.
Yeah.
I would have to say that like and these are both like big spectacle movies, but like the next movie that made me feel similarly was actually this most recent Dune. And it was like that movie as well. I just like, I felt like transported out of what was going on in my life and my world, and was able to just like, I felt like it was an experience. Like it was a movie going experience that was just really impactful for me.
Yeah.
So I think that, everyone has different things that I think that they're trying to get from a movie. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and, and I think that's both like in the movies that we choose, as well as the, what our, brain is thinking about or processing as we go into a movie. I personally love movies that allow me to escape
Mm-hmm.
and that are universal, that have some kind of universal theme. And I think that the movies that are, to me, I think the most impactful are the ones that are potentially the ones that are blockbusters that can reach the masses, but that have some lesson that we need to learn in
Mm-hmm.
it.
Sure.
And it's like, giving your dog a pill with wrapped in peanut butter. Like, I just think that those kind of films are just really important for the world and important for like art in general.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, well, I mean, ultimately at the end of the day, they're stories, right? And
Mm-hmm.
stories transport us. Stories are empathy. It's why Roger Ebert said movies are empathy machines. We
Mm-hmm.
relate to characters. We're inspired by characters. We're inspired by the themes of the story. We get lost, and that's an escape. And escape and imagination is a huge part of empathy and feeling,
Totally.
right? And yeah, I love that. I loved the recent Dune. I love Sam Raimi. Like, I will watch
Mm-hmm.
anything Sam Raimi. So the first Spider-Man was great. The
Mm-hmm.
most recent one for me was Everything Everywhere All at Once. Have you seen
Yeah.
it?
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So good.
Also, same. Yeah.
I was bawling. Like, I had to take like a few minutes before leaving the theater because I was just like, I was ugly crying. It was so
Yep.
just, I loved it.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. I feel the same.
Yeah. The next one we're doing is with my friend Jess. We're
Mm-hmm.
doing Harriet the Spy. Have you ever seen that?
Oh, no, but my mom's name is Harriet. So I read a
Okay.
lot of Harriet the Spy growing up. So,
Yeah, this was like early 90s, and I think it's Thora Birch.
oh, no way. That's fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
I
awesome.
haven't
Good
seen
for
it in
you.
ages, so I'm looking forward to the rewatch. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's
That's such a good idea.
it's a fun outlet. I'm just a film nerd. Movies have always been very, I mean, books as well, but movies have always been very transformative for me growing up
Mm-hmm.
and escaping through them. And we never had like cable or anything, so we just had this little VHS player, and we had this local independent movie rental place, and we just watched the shit out of movies. And
That's
so
awesome.
I have a deep connection to movies. So yeah, it's gonna be fun.
Well, now I know when you're on the More Than You See podcast, what we're going to be talking about is movies because yeah.
Yeah, I'm into it. That sounds great.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Deborah, let's talk about empathy heroes.
Yeah.
So this is the part of the show where my guests and I mention someone in our lives, could be a character from a story, a book, movie, etc. Someone just hits us in the empathy feels, someone who's empathetic and compassionate and meets us where we're at, and all of those things. I'm going to go first to name my empathy heroes this week. My empathy heroes are really anyone who votes.
Mm-hmm.
Do you hear that, everyone? Vote. Right now, I'm in Orange County, and we have, across the state of California, we have a lot of important voting going on right now.
Right.
In May of 2022. And so, and a lot of like key voting. So make sure to do your research. I spent a few hours the other day just researching candidates and policies and endorsements and all these things. It's important. It's a crucial part of collective care. It's a crucial part of mental health, right? Like some of these policies impact our healthcare systems and our mental health care system. So do your research, please vote. Even if you vote for, someone I may not vote for, just vote. Like it's a crucial, I think it's a duty. I think it's part of our collective response. That's important. So if you're voting, you're my empathy hero. That's me.
I love it.
How about
That's
you?
great. I don't know if I can follow that up. Um,
No, it's not a competition, Deborah.
I concur. Um, I would say I think my empathy heroes this week are my partner's two daughters. I think that like
The ones who broke your toe?
yeah, in my theoretical example, they're just like really like energetic, excited kids. So I love it. But I just think that like they're so emotionally aware. And my partner is so incredible at allowing them to check in with their feelings and problem solve because of checking in with their feelings.
Mm.
And so not only I just think that not only do they show me a lot of like love and kindness and in allowing me to be welcomed into their home and into their lives, but also watching them deal with their big emotions that they have as children, it is teaching me more about my own interaction with the world and with people and that kind of thing. And it honestly makes me like watching them makes me excited about the future more. And I was talking to my mom the other day and I was mentioning this to her about how, when they have like a tantrum or something, my partner will say, well, what are you feeling right now? What's going on? Like, what is this about? What are you feeling? And I said that to my mom and she said, and I love my mom. We have a wonderful relationship, but she said, yeah, I don't think I ever asked you how you felt. And I laughed, but I also was like, I actually think that's 100% true. Like that, like feelings were not a part of growing up for me. Yeah. And that's unfortunate because my childhood experiences have now like a really huge impact on my life and my relationships now. And I think that if either of my parents would have asked how we were feeling about our current situation, potentially things wouldn't have been that as bad as they were, because then they would have seen like, oh, this actually is really impacting our daughters. Maybe we shouldn't be such assholes and, like pull our shit together. Yeah. But I just think that it really makes me excited about the future of our world when I like see these little humans that are focusing on their feelings first and foremost about how they relate to the world. I just think it's really, really important. And I think that is building towards the better utopia world that you were talking about before.
Yeah. One feely kid at a time.
That's right.
Yeah. I love it. That's great. That's so cool that you get to be a part of that.
Yeah, I think so too.
That's great.
I feel very grateful.
Well, Deborah, where can the Feely humans out there connect with you, learn more about More Than You See, watch your movies, all of that stuff?
I mean, I would say that where I'm the most active is Instagram. And, I always love to connect with people on there. And so my Instagram handle is just my name, Deborah, DEBORAH _L Smith. And on there, you can then find the More Than You See Instagram. And I'm active on there as well. Again, I run that myself. So all of that is me. I'm also on TikTok and Twitter and Facebook. My stage name, my actor's name is Deborah Lee Smith. So you can pretty much, if you search for that, you'll find me everywhere. And if you type that into Google, you'll find my movies and, more things about me. And I would have to say, my podcast, More Than You See, is on, all podcasting platforms. I feel like it's an ever changing, evolving machine that I have over there. And I really have built it for my community. So if you listen to it and you want me to address a specific topic, or try to bring on a specific celebrity or whatever. I'm so open to people's feedback and comments and suggestions, because I really feel that, it's not just my mental health journey that I'm uncovering on this podcast. It's really everyone's. And I want this to be a communal experience.
I love it. Have you had Zachary Levi on your show?
Not yet, but he's definitely going to be, it's going to happen. I feel it.
Good.
For sure.
Good.
Yeah. He's on the list.
Exciting.
Yeah.
Well, listeners, all those links will be in the show notes at feelyhuman.co. Deborah, thank you so much for being a part of You, Me, Empathy.
Thank you so much for having me. This was really, really lovely.
Yes, I think so too. Made lovelier by you. Thank you.
Oh, thanks.
And to you listeners, as I always say, I'm here, you're here, we're here together on this wayward, overwhelming, awe-inspiring pale blue dot. We have each other. It's You, Me, Empathy.
La, la, la.